Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast. Of course, in this edition, we will be talking about our Premier League predictions for match week 6. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by channel regular Melvyn, all the way from Malta, or should I say sunny Malta. Melvyn, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm trying to squeeze the last bit of summer. It's nearly October now and the winter is about to come. So I'm trying to soak in the last bit of sun.
Well, it looks very warm out there. It's quite cool here. People are starting to put their heating on here, Melvyn. So I think summer is officially over here. Now, of course, we will be going through match week 6, our score predictions, looking at the 10 games. There will be 7 games on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and 1 on Monday. Now, the last couple of weeks, Gary actually got 13 points to my 12, and last week, Gareth got 14 points to my 13. So I am now trailing by 12. I've got 68 points to the guests' 80. So I need to have a top performance this week against you, Melvyn. Now, of course, it is 5 points for a correct score and 2 points for a correct result. Melvyn, before we get into the first game, which, of course, is the early kickoff on Saturday, Newcastle against Manchester City, let me just ask you, what have you made of the Premier League season overall so far?
Yeah, you could kind of see where the title race is going to be. I wished we would be a lot closer than I thought we would be. Um, it's been the Premier League is always quite competitive. City, Arsenal. Maybe we can try to force ourselves into that conversation. And you think if we win a couple of games in a row, you think we might be there and thereabouts. But you never know in the Premier League. A couple of big wins, and all of a sudden you're in the conversation by Christmas. But you never know. I love the Premier League. The Premier League's the biggest league in the world, and you know, Saturday, Sunday weekend watching football is probably one of the best weekends. Hopefully, we play Sunday versus United. I'm sure you discussed that with all of us and the people that were on the podcast. And yeah, I look forward to the weekend for the Premier League.
Melvyn, of course, I know we're both Spurs fans, but on this channel and particularly on these editions, talking about the Premier League predictions, we talk about all the clubs. What did you make of the game at the Etihad last week, City against Arsenal?
Yeah, I was fuming for most of it because they were about to win, and then I was delighted that they dropped 2 points. But it's gonna be scary because this season I feel whoever even comes second potentially could win the Premier with what's going on with Manchester City. So I just wish we were more in the conversation. But yeah, I was delighted that they dropped points. Arsenal, they've been building slowly and they've been there now for a couple of years, and they're banging on the door, Chris, which is annoying.
Let me just say to everyone, we're live on YouTube at the moment, live on Facebook and on X. So get your score predictions in as well as we talk through each game. Let's start with the early kickoff, Melvyn. On Saturday, 12:30 p.m. kickoff UK time, Newcastle host the champions Manchester City. Now, Newcastle head coach Eddie Howe has said that striker Isak is doubtful with a toe problem that's prevented him from training this week. Newcastle's only win in the last 33 top flight meetings was a 2-1 victory at St James's Park back in January 2019. Manchester City have scored in each of their past 31 Premier League games against the Magpies, the longest scoring streak one team has recorded against another in the competition's history. And City have also scored 101 Premier League goals against Newcastle, more than they have against any other side. So those stats certainly say that it favours Manchester City for a win, and there is going to be goals. What have you made of both teams so far this season? Of course, Newcastle are 6th, and Manchester City are leading the way yet again, top of the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, Manchester City every season they start a bit slow, but they're so used to playing their system and their flowing football that they can just grind out games. Even if they're playing at 80%, they seem to always get it over the line. They're so used to playing the system, and they have established players, De Bruyne, Haaland, Foden, Grealish, and their defense is quite strong. City will always be City. With Newcastle, they're a bit more unpredictable. They have good players as well, very strong players. We struggled with them. They managed to beat us this season, and Newcastle
Oh, we've just lost Melvyn. I should have said, actually, Melvyn is actually on an allotment in Malta, so the connection might not be that great. So we'll get him back as soon as possible. As I said, do get your score predictions in. The Premier League fixtures for this weekend are Newcastle against Manchester City. Arsenal take on Leicester. Brentford take on West Ham United. Chelsea against Brighton. Everton take on Crystal Palace. Of course, Everton have only got 1 point in the Premier League so far in the opening 5 games. Nottingham Forest take on Fulham. And bottom of the table, Wolves take on Liverpool, who have done extremely well so far this season under Arne Slot. On Sunday, 2 games will take place. Of course, we will have all of our eyes on one of them. Manchester United host Tottenham and Ipswich take on Aston Villa. And Monday night football is Bournemouth against Southampton. We're just waiting for Melvyn to come back. But as I say, get your score predictions in and let us know how you are feeling about the season. Of course, Spurs played in the Europa League on Thursday, beating Qarabag 3-0. Let us know what you thought of Tottenham's performance and how many changes you think Ange Postecoglou will make on Sunday, because, of course, he made another 6 on Thursday. But he did say in his press conference that we have a number of fresh legs for Sunday. The likes of James Maddison didn't even come on, so he will be pretty fresh for Sunday's encounter against United. We have now got Melvyn back. Melvyn, Newcastle against Manchester City. Score prediction wise, do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first. I think it's going to be City win 2-1.
2-1?
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a 2-0 City win. Next up, Melvyn, our North London rivals Arsenal host Leicester City at the Emirates Stadium. Arsenal goalkeeper David Raya will be monitored after a muscle injury that ruled him out of their League Cup win against Bolton on Wednesday. Head-to-head, Arsenal have won 21 of their last 34 Premier League games against Leicester, drawing 8 and losing 5. The most recent competitive meeting was in the Premier League in the 2022-2023 campaign. Arsenal won 4-2 at home and 1-0 away. Martinelli scoring in both victories. The Foxes have lost 5 consecutive top-flight matches against Arsenal since Jamie Vardy scored the only goal at the Emirates in October 2020. That victory is Leicester City's only win in their last 30 away games against Arsenal in all competitions, drawing 7 and losing 22. So Leicester do not travel well at all to the Emirates Stadium. Your thoughts ahead of this one?
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal are quite consistent lately under Arteta, and unfortunately, I don't feel that Leicester are capable of winning at the Emirates. Yeah, Arsenal have some injuries, but who doesn't? You know, it's the Premier League, and it moves on. Yeah, I think they will probably win this game, even though Leicester still gave us some trouble this season and managed to take a point of us. I feel that Arsenal can beat them.
What score are you going to go with?
I'm going to say 2-0 Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm going to say 3-0 Arsenal, unfortunately. And I think that's the only word to use, as you've already used it. Unfortunately, they're going to win. Yeah. Next up, Melvyn, Brentford take on West Ham United. What have you made of these two sides so far? Because, of course, Brentford came to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last week. It was a comfortable win, really, for Tottenham in the end. Of course, they were without Wissa. Brentford's Christian Norgard will be assessed after a minor injury, ruled him out of the defeat to Tottenham last weekend. And, of course, West Ham United had a really good summer transfer window, but the results in the Premier League simply haven't been there. Have you been surprised by that?
Yeah, but you cannot go off how people feel. You know, just because people on Twitter say Newcastle had a good window doesn't actually mean they had a good window. I mean,
West Ham.
Yeah, sorry, West Ham. Just by West Ham, people were saying, "Oh, they won the transfer window with the signings they've made," and sometimes it's not the case. I mean, we've had transfer windows where people were saying that we had the best window, and in the Premier League after a few games, it doesn't quite happen for you. I've been not a bit surprised because they've been slowly building their team and their project, but just their transfers sometimes don't make sense. They like to take risks. Sometimes they pay off, and like Kudos is a really, really, really good player, but sometimes the risks don't pay off, and it doesn't quite happen in the Premier League. So, and with Brentford, what a goal! I mean, Brentford scored after 30 seconds. I mean, I told you on the podcast that I had missed it and then had to watch it later on. I mean, that's a contender for probably goal of the month, goal of the season. But yeah, Brentford play really good football, really good manager, and I feel that Brentford potentially could win this 2-1.
2-1 Brentford. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw because I think I don't know. You don't really know what you're getting with both of these sides at the moment, and I feel like both teams need to get in some sort of rhythm. But I can't see that happening today. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Brentford against West Ham. The stats here: West Ham United had lost each of their 5 Premier League matches against Brentford before a 4-2 win at the London Stadium in February this year. The Hammers' only victory at the G-Tech Community Stadium was 1-0. A 1-0 win in the FA Cup third round in January 2023, and Brentford have won all 3 top flight fixtures at home to West Ham, including a 3-2 victory last season. Right, Melvyn, the next one. Chelsea take on Brighton. What have you made of both of these teams so far? Because Maresca, since he's gone in at Stamford Bridge, has done a fairly decent job so far, as has the new manager at Brighton.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea were a bit of a laughing stock last season with all the stuff going on, but they really managed to steady the ship in a way. So I've been impressed with the manager, and they've been playing decent football, and it's a bit frustrating and annoying from a Spurs, perspective, because you think they got lucky with one owner, and they seem to be getting lucky again, and they've been, spending tons of money and buying every player, and they have 40 players, and it's like, how is this happening? How is this fair? How can they get away with this kind of stuff? And but yeah, regarding the football, I don't watch much of them because there are London rivals. But when I do, I've been impressed with Nicholas Jackson. Seems to be scoring again. He's finding the net, and they have Sancho from United who assisted, and you just feel that his quality in the Premier League is good, and he's trying to sort of get one over on Ten Hag, because Ten Hag didn't want him at United, and now he's saying, "Oh, I'm a big Chelsea player. I love Chelsea," and all that kind of stuff. So there's a bit of it's a bit strange with Chelsea, because you on paper it's like, oh, we can beat them because they had a very poor season last season, and then they starting to win, starting to play good football. With Brighton, you never know which Brighton's going to turn up. Brighton always give you a game, and they have good players. They can always buy really, really well. They're good at scouting talent that plays well in the Premier League as well. And it's going to be an interesting game. If Brighton wins, get something out of it. We play them soon as well, which is going to be a tough away game at Brighton. It's never easy. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'd love to see Brighton give them a game and try to beat Chelsea. But at the same time, you think, oh, we're going to play them the following week. So if they have a good performance, they can ride on top of that and have a good game against us. So I don't know. What do you think?
I'm actually going to go for a 2-1 Brighton win, Melvyn. I think that Brighton are in superb form under their new boss at the moment, and it doesn't matter who seems to come in there and what players they sell, and then their recruitment is so good. I'm really impressed with Brighton's model and the way that they have been since coming in the Premier League. And I think that although Maresca has done a fairly decent job at Chelsea so far, I feel like there is an awful lot of work to do, which shouldn't be the case when you spend £1 billion on players, which, I think if you ask the average fan, name 30 Chelsea players at the moment, I don't think you could, because it is literally a revolving door. Players seem to come in, out the door, and in it. But I think Maresca is trying to sort that out, and you need someone to go in there and just try and, sort out all of the mess, because it has been a mess over the last couple of years. What are you going to go for score prediction wise?
I don't know. I think it's going to be 2-1 Chelsea. I have a feeling Chelsea will win.
2-1 Chelsea. Okay, completely different, that one. I feel like I need to be a bit more risky as well with these score predictions, because I need the points this week.
You're
Um,
you're competing against me. I think last time we did this, I did quite poorly. So you're gonna bridge the gap.
I don't remember that. If that's the case, you need to come on next week as well. I need the help. um, Chelsea won all three competitive games against Brighton last season, each by a single goal margin. The Blues won both Premier League meetings in the 2023-2024 season, despite having a player sent off in each game. Conor Gallagher at Stamford Bridge and Reece James at the Amex Stadium. And Brighton have won just one of their 11 competitive away fixtures at Chelsea, drawing 2 and losing 8. So I am really sticking my neck out here, Melvyn, with those stats. Next up, Everton take on Crystal Palace. Everton only have 1 point in their opening 5 Premier League games. And I've got to say, Melvyn, without being disrespectful, they were really poor when they came to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I know they didn't have many players fit and available for Sean Dyche, but even players that you would expect, like Jordan Pickford, to step up, even he was making mistakes at the back, which led Son to score at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium against the Toffees. But how do you see this one going? And also Oliver Glasner at Crystal Palace, when he came in last season at Palace at Selhurst Park, done an excellent job. Are you surprised that they are sitting in 16th spot at the moment, because they did so well? Of course, Elise went, but Eze stayed.
Yeah, I mean, Crystal Palace sold, key parts of their team. Selling Michael Elise to Bayern Munich, who's playing really well, by the way. I really would have loved him at Tottenham, but when you sell your key players, you kind of will make your way down the table. But Crystal Palace still have Eze, still have quite a good team. Glasner is a good manager. They still have the quite of the core is still there. But yeah, with Everton, you just think they will always be flirting with relegation. Do they have enough to stay up? I think they might. You never know in the Premier League. I think their fan base is quite strong and they have a good following and their support is really good. And I think over the years, I think that's been enough for them. But when you're always flirting with relegation, I think one day you're just going to go down. And could
Yeah.
this be the season? Potentially, you never know. In the Premier League, you just have to look at the teams around you, and you just have to be, a bit better than them. But yeah, I don't see Everton winning. Maybe they can hold the draw. Um, I don't know if you want to say your prediction first or
0-0.
yeah. I was gonna, I'll go 1-1.
Yeah, I can't see either team winning it. Actually, I haven't been impressed with either team so far this season.
I think either team will go for like not losing. They'll
Yeah,
prefer not losing than actually risk winning.
yeah. Everton's only defeat in the past 19 top flight meetings with Crystal Palace. 9 wins, 9 draws, was a 3-1 defeat at Selhurst Park in December 2021. So they do have an excellent record against Palace. The Eagles won 4 of their first 6 Premier League games at Goodison Park, but are winless in their last 9 visits, drawing 4 and losing 5. Next up, Melvyn, is 8th v 9th. Nottingham Forest host Fulham at the City Ground. What have you made of these two teams so far?
Um, Nottingham Forest are. I don't really watch. I'll be honest with you. I don't really watch many Premier League games apart from Spurs, and I really judge these teams when we play them.
Yeah.
And like I've told you before, like I watch Spurs religiously, and then I'll watch a couple of the big teams, and then so I haven't seen much of Nottingham Forest this season, but I only judge them from like their form this season. And I mean, they have good players that I would take at Spurs. Gordon Gibbs White is probably one of them. I don't know how he's been doing this season, but
Well, let me say, Melvyn, that Nottingham Forest at the moment are one of 4 clubs that are unbeaten in the first 5 games. Under Nuno Espirito Santo, the 5 games, 2 wins, 3 draws, goal difference of +2. They have 9 points, sat in 8th spot.
I forgot Nuno was there actually. So yeah, he's not a bad manager. Nuno. Every time we speak about him, it's like we all have a bit of sympathy for him and think, oh, it didn't work out for him with us, and there's nothing bad ever said about him. We speak bad of Jose and Conte, but nothing bad about Nuno. We just think he wasn't quite our level, and he came to do a job. But he did beat City, which we seem to do quite often. But yeah, with Nottingham Forest, you think if they can keep this run and stay unbeaten for a couple more games, you just think they're going to
Yeah.
survive quite easily and stay in the Premier League.
What about this for another interesting stat here? Nuno Espirito Santo's side are the only team in the Premier League this season to open the scoring in all 5 of their fixtures. Fulham have won 8 of the past 11 league meetings, and Fulham have recorded 42 league wins against Nottingham Forest, more than any other opponent. Melvyn, I can't believe I'm saying this, and I certainly wouldn't have said this last season, but I'm going to predict a Nottingham Forest win, 2-1. What are you going to go for?
I'm going to strategically say a draw at 1-1.
Okay. Right, next up, Wolves take on Liverpool. The late kickoff, 5:30 p.m. at Molineux on Saturday. Wolves only have 1 point in their opening 5 games, which I'll tell you what, Melvyn, I am surprised by this because I've said on this channel many, many times, Wolves are probably the team that most impressed me in the 2 meetings when we played them. You know, they beat us home and away. Also, what have you made of the job that Arne Slot has done at Liverpool so far?
Yeah, I mean, we discussed Arne Slot for about, I think, a day. And then when he was linked with us,
yeah,
and I couldn't even pronounce his name the first time we spoke about him. Yeah, I've been impressed a bit by him, but at the same time, it's still his first year. And Arne Slot took over, Jurgen Klopp, who's been there for years. And he found quite a good squad, that plays attacking football. So it's not surprising that Liverpool are playing well. So it will be surprising if they challenge for the league and be there in April with a couple of points. But I think they'll be in the top 4 this season for sure. But they, with the attacking squad and the quality players they have, Van Dijk and Alisson and Salah and all these players, they have they have depth as well. They even took Chiesa from Juve. They have depth, so they can rest their players. They can rotate, keep them fresh. They played in the Champions League, beat Milan quite comfortably, and yeah, I think it will be a tight game, but I just always see them getting it over the line. They're quite a bit like City and Arsenal, where Liverpool can get in the flow and just easily win games at times. And I think if they maybe struggle a bit, they even are capable of winning it late because they have quality coming off the bench.
Well, Wolves have lost 16 Premier League games against Liverpool, more than against any other opponent. The Reds have won 14 of their past 15 top-flight meetings, with the exception of a 3-0 defeat at Molineux back in February 2023. And Liverpool have kept a clean sheet in 13 of their 20 Premier League fixtures away to Wolves. This has got a Liverpool win written all over it. But of course, we saw Liverpool lose that game against Nuno Espirito Santo's Nottingham Forest a couple of weeks ago, 1-0. Liverpool win, I think, Melvyn. I'm going to go 3-1 Liverpool.
I'm going to say 2-0 Liverpool.
Right, next up, the 2 Sunday fixtures. Ipswich Town, of course, newly promoted, against Aston Villa's or Emery's Aston Villa. They're currently 3rd in the Premier League table. What have you made of these 2 sides? How impressed have you been with Emery at Villa?
Yeah, I mean, Emery's been as well. He's been building there slowly. I mean, they sold quite a big player and then recruited quite smartly and quite quickly. I mean, they're in the Champions League now, which is unfortunate for us because they beat us by only a couple of points. But yeah, Emery's another one who's been there for, I think this is his 3rd season or 4th season, and he's building quite a good project. And we'll see with Villa if they can maintain their top 4 now that they're in the Champions League. But yeah, that's quite a funny comment, actually. Yeah, good evening. Yeah, Villa. Listen, Villa are a big club. Villa have always been one of the big Premier League clubs. I think we're of like not similar size, but they're always been one of the main teams in the Premier League. I know that for a while they went down, came back up, and quite quickly became a top 6, top 8 club, and now they've cemented their place, I think, in the top 4, which is annoying for us because they're always they're now like competing with us, and it's quite frustrating when you think we've been battling for top 4 for the last 15 odd years, and then teams like Villa, Newcastle start to push us for these places, and even take players that we're linked with and that we like, and that. So yeah, Villa are building quite a good team, and they have quite good players. So I think they'll have a good season this season under Emery.
Well, Ipswich Town have won just once in their 10 Premier League games against Aston Villa, drawing 2 and losing 7, with Gavin Johnson scoring the only goal for the Suffolk side at Villa Park in March 1994. Aston Villa are unbeaten in 10 league games at Portman Road since a 3-0 defeat in September, and that was back in 1984. Winning 5 and drawing 5. Ipswich's 1-0 victory at Villa Park in the Championship in 2017 is their only win in 14 attempts in this fixture in all competitions. Melvyn, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Aston Villa win. What are you going to go for?
I'm going to say 1-0 Villa.
1-0 Villa. All your games so far have been quite low-scoring games.
Yeah, I think so. Because sometimes when you think of these wins or these games, and you think quite big, and sometimes they are big results, but often it's like really, really small margins that win these games. And I just feel that if I get those exact, I think that will give me more points.
That's right. It's not a criticism, because this is probably why I'm losing to the guests by 12 points at the moment, because perhaps I should go smaller score lines as well. Next up, Melvyn, the one that we are most interested in, no disrespect to any other game, but of course we're big Tottenham fans who want our team to go to Old Trafford and win this game. Manchester United take on Spurs at Old Trafford, 4:30 p.m. kickoff. Now, after a run of 4 straight Premier League defeats against Manchester United between 2021 and 2022, Tottenham are unbeaten in their last 3 against them in the league, winning 1 and drawing 2. Tottenham have lost 24 Premier League away games against Manchester United, winning only 4 at Old Trafford, drawing 4 at Old Trafford. Only Everton have lost as many top-flight away fixtures against a single opponent. All 4 of Tottenham's Premier League wins at Old Trafford were in the last 12 visits, drawing 1 and losing 7. Melvyn, how are you feeling about this game?
First of all, I'm excited because it's Tottenham, and I like playing against big teams, especially United. To me, are still a big team. And for this fixture last season, I actually went to see this game, Chris. I saw you at the stadium, and we had a 2-2, and it was Timo Werner's debut for us, and this was in January. We had signed Dragozin, and it was a different time for us. We didn't have Solanke, and I've thought about this, specifically to make my prediction, and I thought, so that game was 2-2 draw, and I think we came back for both goals, and Bentancur scored, and Richarlison scored from a corner, and you think, are we better off this season? And you have to say yes in a way, but United are also a bit stronger as well. And when you look at the lineup of them and of us, and you think, I don't know, the teams are quite similar, quite suited to play each other. They like to break on the counter attack. It's going to be interesting tactically what Postecoglou does, what Erik ten Hag will do, and it's going to be an interesting game. And I think it's more going to be one off the pitch. It's going to be based whatever lineup we set up, whatever tactics we set up. If we're capable of, nullifying their counter attack, if we're capable of scoring our chances, I think we're going to have chances, because playing this style of football will give us chances. It's a matter of scoring. Will Brendan Johnson score again? I think that's, the $1 million question. It'll be 4 in a row, and I would love nothing more than for him to score again. And especially with Solanke now too. Solanke's a bit of good form, and I'd love him to keep scoring. And so it's going to be tight. I don't know. Are you going to say first, or should I?
Melvyn, I think it's going to be a very open game. I think there are going to be goals, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 Spurs win. I think that we need to go to places like this and get results, because if Spurs want to make, that top four charge this season, you need to go to places like this and win. And I feel like Old Trafford was a very, very difficult place to go, and I don't think that that is the case anymore. Under Eric Ten Hag, you never know what you're really going to get. I know he keeps going on about, even as Postecoglou said this, he keeps going on about these 2 trophies that he's won. But have they progressed really as a football club? They've spent so much money under his management there, but are they further forward or where they should be? I don't feel they are. So I feel like it is a great opportunity to go to Old Trafford, and you never know what you're going to get with Man United either. So I think that Spurs need to go there and win, and I think we can.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think if we take our chances and the team is learning how to score again, and to win again, I think we could win. And I think we will concede, because we always do in United, and the game will be open. I'm just going to say 3-2 to Spurs.
Yeah. So you gone big now. I've mentioned the scoring.
Playing a bit of mind games now, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. If that comes true, I'll be quite annoyed. Well, I won't be, because we've got the 3 points, but you know what I mean. Lastly, Bournemouth against Southampton. What have you made of both sides so far? Bournemouth are in 13th. It's surprising they're in 13th, because they've played some decent football this season. Southampton, of course, newly promoted, are in 18th at the moment. Bournemouth won their first Premier League home fixture against Southampton in 2016, but are winless in all top-flight home meetings since, drawing 2 and losing 3. Each of the last 5 matches between Bournemouth and Southampton in all competitions have been won by the away team, interestingly. Southampton have won their previous 3 games at Bournemouth without conceding a goal. Melvyn, what have you made of these 2 sides, and what's your score prediction?
I think Bournemouth, I think obviously we bought Solanke out from them, and I'm not sure if they have an adequate replacement for him. And I think his 19 goals will surely be missed. And with Southampton, newly promoted side, I think it'll be a tight game. Neither team will want to lose, because it's the sort of game where you think, oh, you're not playing one of the big boys, and you really want to capitalize on these type of games for them. So it's going to be tight. I think it'll be a draw. I think it'll be a 0-0.
0-0. I'm going to go for goals in this one, Melvyn. I'm sticking my neck out. I'm going to go for a Bournemouth 3-2 win. God, we've been very different on this one. Melvyn, last question for you before you go, and enjoy your sunshine there in Malta. Who is going to be? I'd like you to predict the top 4, and I'd also like you to predict who will be relegated.
Ooh.
But we need the top 4 in the order.
In the order. You might hate this. I don't know. I don't know, because now City have Rodri injured, and he's going to be out for the season. So there's a statistic that without him they lose a bit of games, and
yeah, it's a big loss.
It's a big loss for them, and I think that might edge it for Arsenal to win the Premier League, unfortunately and sadly. And maybe me saying that will jinx them, because I'd love to somehow have an effect on their season by saying that, because I'd love to play these kind of mind games. And so I'll say Arsenal win the Premier League, unfortunately, and I'll say City will come second. Then I would say Liverpool, and you might hate me for saying this, but I think it'll be Chelsea, then Spurs. I think we'll finish 5th again. I don't know why. I just think I think we're still building, and we're still quite strong, but I think we'll be quite similar to last season. And there's still Newcastle and Villa fighting for that top 4, but I think we'll finish on top of them. But I just think, I don't know, it'll be tight. If we finish in the top 4, I think we would have overachieved to where we are at the moment, and I think we would deserve it. But at the same time, I think we'll finish 5th.
Interestingly, Dan has said Chelsea in the top 4 as well. I don't think they're good enough for top 4 this season. And I'm going to disagree with you on the Arsenal one, Melvyn. Obviously, I think that I'm going to say exactly the same as what I said last year, and it turned out to be true. That even though City have an injury or two, I know Rodri is an absolutely massive and key player for them, but I still think that they've got so much quality in their squad, and we know that Arsenal can lose games, and it's all about mentality. And I think that Manchester City, they've been there and done it so many times. I feel like they're going to do it again. Relegation, the 3 teams to be relegated.
That's a tricky one.
You mentioned Everton earlier, and of course they'll be moving in their new stadium at the start of next season.
Yeah.
Imagine them, the history that Everton have got, moving from Goodison Park to Bramley-Moore Dock into the Championship. Wow, wouldn't that be terrible for them?
I mean, even us moving stadiums was quite a difficult process, and even Postecoglou alluded to it. Like when he was asked about trophies, and he said it's not easy for a club to move stadiums. It's not like just because it's a bigger stadium, shinier stadium, more fans, maybe a bit better atmosphere. It doesn't mean it's gonna be, you snap your fingers and it's a process done. I think it takes time to settle. Even Arsenal went through it a bit. When they went from Highbury to their new stadium, they struggled a bit. They didn't. Success didn't follow straight away. So you just think it could be Everton season. I'd hate for that to happen because I know, for example, you go to the away games, obviously, Chris. So you would love to go probably next season into that stadium because it looks actually really good. It's been criticized a little bit online, saying that it's too steep and all of that. But I just think it looks brilliant. I know Goodison Park is one of the how you say, it's like the Premier League, the classic Premier League stadium.
Traditional and iconic, yeah.
Yeah. And I hate that I haven't been to it, but living in Malta, it's difficult to go to some stadiums. And yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with it, if they're going to keep it or demolish it or I don't know, keep it for the women's teams or sell it. I don't know. But Goodison Park will always be, one of the classic stadiums in the Premier League. But sadly, times change and clubs have to evolve. I mean, we demolished White Hart Lane, who everyone loved, So it's sad to say Everton will go down because they're as well one of the main teams in the Premier League. When you think of the Premier League, you think of Everton as well. And I don't know, someone said Southampton, Leicester, and Everton, and I agree with him. So I'm going to go with those.
Yeah, Justin Curtis writes here on Facebook, Palace, Southampton, and Wolves relegated. I tell you what, wouldn't that be interesting? But there's a long way to go in the Premier League, and these league positions that I've mentioned today don't really mean an awful lot. Manchester City being top, I think that means an awful lot, but none of the others at the moment because it can all change. Melvyn, as per normal, you've been a fantastic guest. Thank you so much. I'm not going to wish you luck for these score predictions because I need the points. Have a great weekend, and let's hope that Spurs can win at Old Trafford on Sunday. What are you up to at the moment, and where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, you can find me on X at Melvyn Malta. At the moment, I'm preparing for James because James is coming and has an event here next weekend for the Brighton match. So James will be coming to Malta, and he will be performing in Gozo. So we're gonna have 50, 60 people coming out, and Malta and Tottenham fans, Malta and Gozo, and yeah, it'll be a good time for us to meet because I know life is quite fast and people are busy, and you guys, the Tottenham fans from England, and meet at the games, and there's quite a strong community. You meet at the pubs, you meet at the South Stand, but it's quite different here, unless you go to Spurs Malta. At the club, you don't quite meet. So it would be nice for us to get together and see each other, have a drink, complain about the result, or maybe celebrate the victory. Hopefully it'll be the second one, because what I notice about these gatherings, if there's a bad result, people get quite complainy and you know how things go. But yeah, it's a good thing. And if any Spurs fans manage to be in Malta for next weekend,
Yeah.
send me a message, and I'll send you the location and come, and we'll love to have you. And it's not like there's a limit to these things. Just come and have a drink with us, and we'll talk Spurs, and hopefully we'll celebrate the win.
Absolutely. Well, if you are in Malta next week, when Spurs travel to Brighton, then do give Melvyn a look on social media and get in touch with him, or even look at James Black's Twitter, because he's put all of the dates for all of his tour. He's all over the place at the moment. So good luck to him. Friend of the show, of course, channel regular as well, one of our own. Melvyn, also, thank you so much for getting involved in the Spurs Around the World videos and episodes, because they've been extremely successful so far. So if you are an international fan, please do get involved, and please do email me. It's tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com. We'd love lots of international fans to get involved, giving your thoughts on the games, giving your match reaction. And Melvyn, look forward to having your one with James after the game. That'd be an interesting one. So thank you so much. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks so much for getting involved, and thanks so much for all of the support as always. Have a great weekend. Let's hope the Spurs can get the 3 points, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.